program is intended for a mature audience. If you are not 18 or older, stop listening and find more age-appropriate content. This show will cover topics in a satirical manner. If you are offended by any content herein, that is your own problem. As you have been warned, please do not try this at home, or anywhere else for that matter.
Welcome to Blown Pistons today. My co-host today with me is a special co-host, Pete from Pete versus Anxiety.
What's going on, everybody?
And then we have Scott. Is it Osteen or Osteen?
Osteen, Scott Osteen.
Okay, I didn't want to murder it. I should have asked you that beforehand.
No problem. It usually gets murdered. So, unless they know Joel Osteen, then that's how it's properly pronounced. So
Gotcha. But you are co-owner of Joey Gase Racing, and which is part of the O'Reilly Auto. I'm trying to still get used to the O'Reilly Auto Parts series. I mean, it was Xfinity for so long. It took me when Xfinity changed over from Busch, it took me a long time to get that going too. There's still times where I go, "Oh, the Busch series." I mean, but thank you for joining me here today, sir. And tell us a little bit about Joey Gase Racing.
Well, Joe, I had a part-time truck team in 2024. I was under Floridian Motorsports, and Carl Long was handling my logistics because I'm out of Florida, so I was not set up with a race shop and all that. So Carl handled everything on the truck side of things, and I got a chance to meet Joey at Richmond. Carl was running his Cup car and couldn't do my truck, even though I'd got some sponsors for a Richmond race with Mason Maggio. Met Joey, and we just kind of got to talking, and I told him I really can't run a race team from Florida, and I was just looking to be a minority partner in a team. And I had talked to Jeremy Clements and Jordan Anderson, even Carl Long, Josh Ryome, and they really didn't want to take on a financial partner, more like a silent partner. And so Joey said, well, I'm kind of, looking, exploring, kind of seeing how I can expand my team and if something we could put together. So I told him, I said, well, that's fine, because I can't run a race team. I run hardware stores and lumber yards and whatnot, my family's businesses. So it just kind of went from there. And about a month went by and kicked the can down the road a little bit, and we put something together. And I said, listen, I'll be a minority investor in the team, and I just want some, I can kind of help out where I can with sponsors and just showing up to the races, because I can't go to every race just with my schedule. And so that's how we kind of got together as a team. And Joey's been, running the team day to day. He's the hardest working guy in the garage I've ever seen, from driving to being an owner and trying to entertain his sponsors when he needs to. So, and that's kind of my job. I kind of like to entertain the sponsors. I can do that since I'm not turning wrenches. I can sell wrenches, but I don't typically turn them at the shop. So that's kind of where we are today. It's worked out great so far this year. And 2025 last year was our first year together.
Yeah, Joey seems like he's always all over the place, because I know he's ran a few races and everything this year. I've seen his name pop up, and we actually had, because you mentioned Mason, and about 6 months ago, we actually did an interview with him.
Okay.
So he is a friend of the network and stuff like that, so which is really cool, because it's really nice to, when you're watching a race and you see somebody you've actually talked to run, it's like, oh, cool, I know him. And I mean, I've texted him, and that when I seen he had a good finish, it's like, hey, good job, and he texts back and stuff. So that is really cool.
Yep.
Now
it's worked out great. That's how I got into the racing with the truck team. Was I had sponsored Mason I think one or two times, just small stuff. And it really, even going back further, 2019 or 2020, I think Jordan Anderson, I did like a little $500, little sticker on the quarter panel, which I have from his truck at Homestead. I have that quarter panel in my home office that he gave me. So, so I just kind of got teamed up with Mason, and I think we ran 8 of 9 races in 24. And then he ran for us, I think, for 10, 11 races last year with Joey Gase Motorsports.
Cool. Now Pete is actually down there by one of the biggest tracks, and I don't know if Mason's running there this year or not, because he's right outside of Dallas area, I believe.
Yeah, right outside Dallas.
And you guys have the Texas Motor Speedway right down there. I think that's in Fort Worth.
I believe that's where it's at. Yeah, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's running that race this year or not, or
Mason?
yeah.
I'm not sure what his schedule is this year. He's running for Mario this year. I'm not
Oh,
sure
okay.
what races. I'm not sure what races he had scheduled with them, but I think he's run 3 or 4 races this year already with
Okay.
him.
Yeah, for some
In the
reason.
91 car, I think he's in.
Okay, I was thinking he was racing for you guys this year. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. He did last year.
So, I know like you run a lot of like Ace hardware stores and stuff like that. How does that coincide with the race team?
Well, I own 3 Ace Hardware stores. I have one in Tallahassee, which is actually in Tallahassee right now. Our place up here. Been working out of here the last couple of days. Have one in South Florida and Hobe Sound, Florida. Then our other stores in Rock Hill, South Carolina, just south of Charlotte. That's kind of how the NASCAR tie-in comes in.
hmm
And there's just been what we can do for the race shop is there's so many things. You walk through an Ace Hardware, or you walk through a race shop, and I can look at said, oh, we sell that. Yeah, we sell those. So it just kind of made sense for Joey and I from a partnership. So listen, I can help with, office or shop supplies,
Yeah.
utilize the Ace branding, and I get co-op money from some of our suppliers to help turn around and supply the shop with certain things. So there's a Ace Hardware. The Ace Hardware connection really is me. It's not Ace Hardware corporate.
Okay.
They're not really they don't really get involved in it from a corporate side of things. It's just me promoting my own store, which it's really my promotion around the racetrack. Is really just the not so much the fans in the stands, because nobody at Kansas Speedway is going to come shop at my store. So they're just not going to do that. But for the guys on the race shops and the pit crew guys, it's more kind of geared towards them because they live in the areas. So that's
Cool.
kind of how my tie-in is with Ace and the shop or the store, the team, and just kind of get my name out there when we need it, if there's some room on the car anyway.
So
So,
Scott, I did want to ask you something though. Has racing always been a big part of your life? Like, has this always been something you've been into? Because a lot of people like you, every has their thing. Like, people like racing, some people like football, some people like baseball. So has this always been a big thing for you?
I grew up in Rockledge, Florida, about an hour. It's about an hour south of Daytona.
Okay.
And my
uh,
dad, my parents were born and raised in that area. My dad used to go to Daytona when they raced on the beach when he was
oh
early
wow.
teens, I'd say.
Damn.
He'll be 88 next month. So he went to a few races on the beach. And then when they built the Speedway, he'd go to some races there. He was in turns 3 and 4 when Cale Yarborough and the Allisons got into their scuffle. And what was that, 79? I think that year
Yep.
was when they did that. Yeah. So it's always been in the back of my mind. I would go to the Firecracker 400 as a kid when we
Cool.
would go. And then I saw Smokey and the Bandit when I was 10 years old with my parents and my brother, my cousins and aunt and uncle. And they were from Athens, Georgia. So there was that Georgia, Smokey and the
hmm
Bandit, the whole
Hmm.
Florida, the Burt Reynolds thing. And I just fell in love with cars at that point and just the whole racing thing as time went on. And just kind of got back into it with some buddies of mine that I was kind of reintroduced to NASCAR in 2015 at Kentucky Motor Speedway. Great friend of mine, Jeff Ulrich, who's with SMI. He invited my wife and I to a race, and I had never done the VIP, the behind the scenes
Oh,
stuff.
cool.
So once I saw that, it kind of blew my mind. I was like, I want to be a part of this. And my wife and I, we had our businesses. And I would say, well, maybe, just like a part-time truck team. And that's when I think around 2018 or 2017, I think that's when Jordan Anderson was kind of coming on the scene with his truck team. And I kept hearing about this guy who was driving his truck and his fifth wheel, racing his race truck, and then turning around and driving back. And I thought, well, I always thought that to be in NASCAR, you got to have millions and millions and millions of dollars, which is
Right.
true.
Yeah,
But
it
there's guys
helps.
there that aren't running that way, and I
Hmm.
didn't realize that. So I was like, well, there's an entry there at some point, and so but to get back into the racing, it's been this long journey. and just me getting to meet some of the right people in the sport, behind the scenes people that have been around forever, that really kind of reintroduced me to NASCAR. Probably it's 2015ish, somewhere around there. And in 2017, 2018, I was like, I'd like to be a part of NASCAR and try to find my way. And that's when I was meeting, Josh Ryome, and reached out to Jeremy Clements, just smaller teams that I could see from a distance, thinking, well, maybe these guys could use a financial partner.
Yeah,
And that's
definitely.
what kind of got me to Joey Gase.
Cool. Now, do you guys have any ambition to, and I think Joey's ran a couple, but like the bigger cars, the like main NASCARs?
The Cup cars,
Yeah.
I talked to Joey about that, and I don't know if we're geared for that at this point, unless something really major happened down the road. But I think we're probably geared more for the O'Reilly right now.
Okay.
Just the expense to get into Cup would be a major stepping stone.
Yeah, especially with those
And
cars and stuff
having
now.
not having a
Oh yeah.
charter, which not having a charter is not, you own a charter, it pays better. If you
Yeah.
don't, it's not going to pay as well. But you see like the Carl Longs and the NY Racing. I don't know those. I mean, I know Carl obviously, but I don't know what his expenses are to show up at a race. I couldn't tell you. He's been doing this a long time, so I couldn't tell you what it would even take to get into the Cup right now. But I think Joey's pretty happy where we are in the O'Reilly, and we've got some things coming up, and it's a good spot for us, I think, where we are.
You guys have been running pretty good too this year, from what I've noticed.
Yeah, we had Joey. Joey's been running. He's had some good runs. Daytona was a nightmare because we had a Joey. We brought on a third car, and it was a deal Joey had put together, and he bought the points from I forget which team it was. We bought some points. Had qualifying been rained out, all three cars would have been in because of where we were in the points.
Ah,
And then we had Natalie Decker driving the 35, and the 53 was David Starr. And Joey had an engine issue, and he had an A motor, and he practiced fine. We went out to go qualify, and all of a sudden his car, he went by, you could just tell his car just didn't sound right. And it turned out there was one of the A motors we had gotten from one of the other teams just didn't work very well for us. So he missed out, and then David just missed out by, I think, 1,000th of a second from a point situation that hurt him or hurt us as a team, basically. So we only had Natalie in the Daytona, but after that, we had the 35 car missed some races because of points, and then the 9 car shows up for random races with a Cup guy, and it pushes us out
yep.
for a couple. I think that happened 1 or 2 races, and you end up with 40 people showing up, and then you got 5 Cup guys showing up, and great equipment. It's kind of hard to keep our second car in there because of the point situation.
So since I've got you on here, it did bring up a question. How do you guys like running with the Cup cars? Do you think that they should stay kind of in their league so that everybody gets a fair shake on your level, or what?
Well, I personally, even before I got into it where I am at this level now, I always I always thought that everyone should stay in their own. It's like college football, pro football. Tom Brady showing up to play a Friday night high school football game just
Hmm.
wouldn't be the same. And he shows up, or at Michigan on a Saturday and shows up. But that's how I see, the Cup guys when they come down. I know you hear young drivers say they kind of think it's kind of cool to go race against a Kyle Busch or one of those guys. But from a business side of things, sometimes it can hurt you. Um, when they show up in great equipment, which is a fifth car for, one of the bigger teams, or a fourth car,
Yep.
and it leaves us struggling because of where we are and the dynamics of, financials, the Hendricks of the world and the Gibbs and RCRs, and then those of us in the back. And we have one little major issue with something, or minor issue, I should say, even. It can hurt us. And, our 35 car missed a few races this year, but we were locked in last week, locked in this week at Bristol. So we'll have the
Cool.
55 and 35 ready to go.
Awesome. Yeah, because I know it's gotta suck. I mean, if like I could kind of see it if they're gonna jump in, then they should substitute one of their regular cars that's in, take one of their drivers out. I know Hendricks does that a lot with like Rajah Cruz ride,
Mhm.
but they still throw him in another car, so that's still taking the seat of another driver. And honestly, I like when I watch it, it's like I want to see who's coming up. I don't want to see the cup guys that, I root for on Sunday running in that race either, because they're not the ones that are coming up in the sport and trying to make a name for themselves. They're the one they've already been established. Let the younger guys or the guys that, are in that side actually have that, because when you're watching like Jason Allgaier when he's running, it's like he's going to be there. It's not a surprise.
Yeah.
And when you see Kyle Larson driving and dominating or something like that, it takes away from it.
Yeah. Well, I know Kyle Lar, and I know a great friend of mine is he's been around Hendrick. He's been a Hendrick guy for I think 20 something years. And so I trust a lot with what he has to say about the sport. When he says something, I pretty much, okay, well, that must be a legit thing, because he would have Rick Hendrick wouldn't keep him, at an arm's length, if he wasn't good for what he is for the sport. So, I know last year when I think it was last year when Kyle Larson made the comment, he was coming down to race in Xfinity to show the Xfinity guys that they weren't as good as they thought they were. I know he didn't mean it in a disparaging way. I think it's just the way it came out, and maybe in the context side of it. And my first thought was, well, I'd like to see what he does in our equipment. Is he going to run around in the back? Is he going to run at 15th? Is he going to run 5th? I don't know. But, when you put a guy like Larson or any of those guys in Hendrick equipment, of course they're going to do well. I mean, what if you put a Joey Gase in or a Mason Maggio in Hendrick equipment? Where would they run? That's what I'd like to
Exactly.
see. Don't bring Larson into, or anybody. I'm not picking on Larson by any means. Just any Cup guy. Let's just say, Cup
hmm
guy A. Put him into a mid-tier team or a back marker team, and I would just out of the interest alone, just to see how well they do, to see what the equipment can do, or if it is the equipment, if it's the drivers, or the whole mix of things.
Yeah, because that kind of reminds me of his days in the 42 car. He wasn't the way he was now. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big Brad Keselowski fan. I like,
Mm-hmm.
because I've always been I was a Rusty Wallace fan growing up, and then when I liked Kurt Busch, and then when Brad took over the car and stuff like that, and it's kind of cool to see like the older guys in it, and when the newer guys are kind of like talking like that, it drives me nuts. But it's just I prefer seeing that sports talent in
Mm-hmm.
that side. And I mean, yeah, it does do good for like the ratings and stuff like that, because if you're going to one of those races and you're like, oh, cool, I'm going to see some of the bigger guys in that run. But in the same aspect, it does take away from like the smaller teams that, like you said, if they have one little misstep, then all of a sudden they're out. And you guys drove how many miles to get there and expended how much, fuel and all that stuff
Yeah.
just to get there and be disappointed. So,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, for
and
sure.
and
Well,
I
to
know,
go back to something you said a minute ago about, you want to see new and upcoming. That's why I was really following Jordan Anderson. When I heard about him, I was like, I want to know more. I want to hear more about this guy, because I want to know how he does it. How does he show up at a race every week, driving a fifth wheel, uh, you know, then racing his own truck, and then turning around and drive, either from Vegas or Texas Motor Speedway. I was like, who is this guy? And then
Mhm.
I went on his website, found where you could basically plug and play. You could do a $25,000 sponsor, you could do a $5,000, and I just did, for shits and giggles, I just said, well, I'll do a $500 sponsor. Send them a message, hey, interested in talking to you about sponsorship in the future. You know, again, I've left my phone number, and some time went by. And I think in November, right after the season in 2018, he called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, I'm just catching up, and what questions do you have?" And we struck up a friendship. We're still friends today. I see him at the track. I always go out of my way to shake his hand, because he is really kind of. There's three people I blame for me getting into NASCAR. It's my dad to an extent. And I've told Jordan, and then Jeff Ulrich that I mentioned from SM a little while ago. I've told them in the past that, this is partially your fault. I'm doing this, and they're kind of like, well, sorry. So, but it was just I liked following the small teams. I liked the small guy, the little guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just going to show up and just start rooting for Hendrick out of nowhere. I kind of like the smaller teams. Even before I got into it, I would kind of watch, starting with Jordan, obviously.
Yeah, because one of the friends of the network, which we've had on, and I talked to him quite a bit. He runs a really small ARCA team, Rise Motorsports, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean it's a tiny team, and he got a big break with Jeffrey Earnhardt this year. But yeah, he's talking to him and then on how he gets around to the tracks, and he was working, a full-time job and doing that, and it's like I don't. He has a hard time even staying awake because it's like he's either at the shop working on the car
Yeah.
or driving to the tracks, and that's Tim Goulet.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know the
So
name. Yeah.
yep. Yeah, he's a really good guy, very small team. And when I see that too, it reminds me of like the days with like Alan Kowicki and stuff like that, when you had
Mm-hmm.
all the big teams and he managed to win the championship with just his little shop and like seven or eight, I think he had like seven or eight full-time guys and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
that's the stuff that people like to hear about. And it's like everybody knows, like you said, like the Hendricks and Penske and RCR and all that, they know they're a multi-million-dollar facility. And they wreck a car, they could have a car shipped back up there. If they wreck their car and their backup car, they can have another car within a couple of hours.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see the guys. And when you're watching those races, like the smaller teams, when they do have an accident or something like in practice, you can see them down there just busting their butt on trying to get
Oh yeah.
that car back in shape. And some of them still have like the marks from the wall and everything when it's race day and all that. So, I mean, how, like, so on your side of it, how well do they prepare for like that sort of thing? Because I know they're kind of a smaller you guys are kind of a smaller team. Like, do you guys bring a couple cars, or do you guys bring like a lot of extra parts, or how does that usually work?
Well, what we do is for us to, save, we bring our 35 and we bring two cars into the hauler, the 55 and this year the 55 and the 35. On the long trips, like out west, Joey, I forget who we do this with, but if they're taking out two cars, we'll put a third car in that guy's hauler or one of his haulers, and then I think Joey has, if we need it, we'll use it, or if the other guy needs, obviously, then there's one there. And I
Okay.
wish off the top of my head, I can't remember which, because Joey will tell me, hey, we're working with this guy for this, we're working with this guy for that. As far as parts go, I learned this at Bristol, but the first time we ran my truck at Bristol in 24 is we had an issue with the transmission. It was a Josh Ryone truck, and we had to go over. I hadn't technically bought it yet. I was actually using it, and but Josh already had other equipment. So, and you learn that guys will help out in the garage. There's a lot of drivers have friendships with other teams and other crew chiefs. So if somebody needs something, I think there's usually maybe you can strike a deal with somebody. It may be on a rental basis. If it gets broken, obviously you got to buy it, sort of thing. Just kind of
Yeah.
hey, I need this. If I break it, fix it. Get you a new one, whatever it might be. So they're just in the garages where they do a lot of that stuff and try to make up for a broken part or missing parts or something that might have been forgotten at the shop.
So is there a big difference too? Like you said, you ran or you own the truck team and that. Is there
Yeah.
a huge difference between the truck team and the O'Reilly's team?
Yeah, there is. There's well, you know what? From the expense of getting there, I wouldn't say there is. Really, the cost of the teams are going to it's still going to your travel is still going to be the same. Your personnel, depending on the team, may vary. But as far as getting to the track, it seems like it really is going to cost everybody about the same to get there.
Okay. And then also too, do you guys like the pit crews and that? Because since you guys have multiple cars up there, do they all kind of work together in the garage, or do they kind of keep separate, or how does that usually
Well,
run?
we all work together. I mean, our cars are usually next to each other, and yeah, so we're right there. If we need stuff from another car, it's pretty much right there. When we need it, it's there.
Okay. Yeah, because I know yeah, watching that, I kind of figured that everybody kind of worked together. I mean, they're obviously competing against each other on the track, but off the track, they're kind of probably working as like a single team.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. Yeah, but if there was an issue with one of the cars, there's just more people that we can uh, bring over to help out, get more eyes on it if there's an issue, because we're right there next to each other in the shop or the garages at the track.
So, and also with you with the cars, I gotta know, do you got any cool cars and like a collection or anything like that?
I have a 21 Mustang GT that I took up to Randleman, North Carolina at Petty's Garage. I became friends with some of the Petties, not well, more the Moffats, Thad Moffat's dad, Brian, and his uncle Stephen Moffat, who they did the cars for Petty's Garage. And I took a 21 Mustang up there, and they kept it for like 9 months. Did a lot of work to it. And actually, I'm just trying to make room in the garage. I have two kids in college. One's about to graduate, and I'm just going to run it across the block at Barrett Jackson for the Palm Beach show next Saturday.
Oh,
So
wow.
if you're looking for a Petty's Garage Mustang, there'll be one up for bid next Saturday. But Richard Petty himself, I have the video. My son and I picked the car up, so there's pictures with me and Richard there, picking the car up, him in the car signing the dash and signing the battery box. So it has a pretty cool NASCAR lineage to it. My son and I then left Randleman in North Carolina. That was the Atlanta races that weekend, and we met friends over there. And my son and we actually drove the car on the track for it's a thing that SMI does at some of their tracks. It's laps for charity. And
Okay.
there's guys out there, they're plumbing vans, and they're just out there making laps, and we took the Mustang. Yeah, we made we took the car out there and ran, I think, 6-8 laps on the new Atlanta Motor, because they just redone the speedway there, and that was that year that they had just opened that. I forget, that must have been 22, I think, because by the time I got the car, picked it up, yeah, that should have been the spring Atlanta race. So drove the car to Atlanta, ran laps with it, and drove it back to Jupiter. It's been pretty much sitting in my garage ever since. I take it out every now and then just to put 2 or 3 miles on it, keep it going. But it's just kind of running out of room, and just new things coming up in life that we want to do. So I've had fun with it, and we'll see it on TV next Saturday.
Awesome. Hey,
Yeah.
Pete, we should get some cars from the podcast and go down there.
Right, there you go. Right, that'd be awesome.
It's a great show. I've been there a number of times. Yeah, the Barrett, they put on a good show down there. Lot of great cars at that. Haven't been to any other Barrett Jacksons, but just the Palm Beach show, because it's 20 minutes from my house.
That's
Cool.
not bad then.
No, not at all.
Yeah, because I know those anytime Richard Petty's associated with any of those cars, that is a huge deal.
Yeah, it
And
is.
that is really cool.
Yeah, they did a great job with it. It's really cool. It's one of a kind. There's no other car like it in the world. So I think it's pretty cool. Just with the history of him being in it and signing. I know he's signed other cars and whatnot, but I think because my connection with Steven and Brian Moffat, they made it a little bit more special for me and my son to meet. Well, I had met Richard there. I had met Richard previous times. My son had never met him. But
Cool.
I had, just handshake, hi, nice to see you, and that's about it. I can't claim I'm friends with the Petties, but the Moffats, yes. Thad's dad and uncle. So
Yeah, because I know I haven't paid too much attention. Are they still running the Petty truck, or that truck that I know I think last year he was running before the
we ran against him, Thad. We ran against Thad in 24 in the truck series. I think he was running some Trans Am last year, and I think he maybe did a few other ARCA races,
Okay.
maybe last year. I'm not sure. I kind of lost contact with the Thad side of things with talking about driving and whatnot. So, but he had that 46 truck that we ran against when we ran in 24 in
Okay.
the truck. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember that, and that was a huge deal when he was bringing that out.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure. Yep. Great people, super nice people.
So when you guys look for drivers and stuff like that, it's kind of a random question that just popped up in my head. Do you guys follow a lot of like the lower series to see who's moving up and who you guys could possibly recruit to drive your cars?
Personally, I don't. I think Joey probably has a better grasp on, the local knowledge there around the Charlotte area and the dirt tracks, the younger kids coming up because Joey's boys, I think they just turned 5 or 6. I think they just turned 6 not too long ago, and now they're getting into go-kart racing. So Joey would know I guess maybe from a really young standpoint, but as far as 15-year-old or 12-year-olds, I personally wouldn't know any. I haven't talked to Joey if he's kept an eye out for anybody, if he sees anybody that might have some interest or has that ability to possibly make it up through the ranks and get into the lower tier series to keep an eye on them even more so, like at ARCA or even truck.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is cool though. I mean, what you guys have accomplished and stuff like that, and what what are some of the next races you're going to be possibly going to?
I will be like I said, I'm in Tallahassee right now, but I fly to Charlotte tomorrow, and we'll head up. We have a family home in the mountains of North Carolina. I'm going to meet my brother there, and then he and I will go to the track Saturday and just kind of get the house opened up for some. Our dad is going to be 88 next month, so we just kind of open up the house for him, get the furniture out, get the fireplace and all that stuff, make sure it's ready to go. So when he gets up there, it's all good for him. So, and that's only 45, 50 minutes from the house to the track, Bristol Motor Speedway. So that's what's nice about Bristol. We can just stay at the house and cook out, and hang out, not have to do the hotel thing or stay in an RV, or a motor
Mhm.
coach in the owner driver lot. So it's nice. Bristol's nice for that we actually have a house to stay in.
Yeah, that
It's an
that
easy drive.
tracks that track's on my bucket list to go see someday.
Oh yeah, it's a great track, and seeing it from up top is like what I mentioned, or my great friend Jeff Ulrich, who pretty much got me into the sport. He who got me interested at Kentucky. That's one of their tracks. So I've seen the insides there, and watched the race from the suite and just the level bar, the bar there. I forget what they call it. It's a great place to watch a race. You can see everything. You don't have to look very far. You can see everything pretty much going on just by standing there.
Yeah, they
It's
say
such a
there's not a
small
bad
track.
seat in that place.
No, there is not.
Yeah,
Not at all.
because I think.
So Scott,
Oh,
so
go
Yeah.
Scott,
ahead.
which track would you say is your favorite track overall? If you had to pick that one defining track, would you say it's Daytona, or would you say it's another track that you really enjoy going to every time?
Atlanta.
Atlanta? Okay.
Atlanta, yeah. My brother's motor coach for years. We would go to that track, and we'd be up on the back stretch, between 2 and 3, and it's such a great place to watch the race. It's easy to get around, and now the racing is just so great there. Of course, Daytona is that's like a backyard track for me where I
Yeah.
grew up. But
Hmm.
Atlanta, I think the overall the people, we've met a lot of great people just in the infield from Georgia, and we become friends with them, and we see them, twice a year now for the races, and they hang out there in turns for and their motor coaches and uh, cook out, drink beer, whatever, just kind of have a great time with it. And SMI always does a great job with their infield concerts, or inside the infield there. So they always put on a good show, and it's easy to watch the race from there, and the racing is good. It's almost like they checked all the boxes, and I think Atlanta's by far my personal favorite track to go to.
So, do you prefer the new configuration over the older configurations? And I take it.
I do, yeah, I do.
I think the racing's a lot better.
It is, yeah, it is.
It's like those newer cars. Well, any of the cars seem like they like that track, the way that they run, and the. I'm not a huge fan all the time of the pack racing, but it's nice to see that even like the smaller teams have a chance at that type of racing. It's not just one guy that's got so much more power and just flies around and leaves everybody. They can't do that there.
Yeah,
and
correct. No,
that's
you're
really
right.
cool.
Yeah, and it's not the Talladega and Daytona, which I like the pack racing. I really do. Uh, but Atlanta's just it's because it's confined more. It's because
Hmm.
it's more condensed and it's easier to watch it, and it's just it's so nice to get up close to it. It feels like you're right there. Even when you're in the infield, it feels like you're in just right smack in the middle of it. But even when you're on the backstretch watching it, you still feel that it's a nice compartmentalized track where you can see everything going on. You still feel everything, and it's to me it's a great track.
It's like a super speedway mixed in with well, kind of like super speedway mixed with Bristol in a sense.
Correct. Yeah,
That
exactly.
that is cool because I know
Yeah.
the one track that's actually local to me, they're finally opening back up, which is Chicagoland,
Hmm.
and I'm excited to watch that. Um, I don't know, like, are you guys running up there this year, or I don't know what the schedule's like. I haven't really had a whole lot of time to look to see what the O'Reilly schedule is because I was thinking that last weekend everybody was racing there, and then it's like, oh crap, it's Easter. Cup's not racing, and because they were running North Wilkes-Barre or no Rockingham last weekend.
Yeah, yeah. Rockingham. No, Chicagoland. Yeah, we will be there. I think that's July 4th weekend or
Yep,
somewhere around that time frame. Is July 4th, early July, late or second week of July, somewhere around there. But we'll definitely be there for sure.
because I know we're trying to talk with getting media potential or way to get in for media and stuff like that because my wife's never been to one of those races and she wants to go and she's with her medical and stuff like that. That's one thing I'm trying to check off her bucket list.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I've never seen that track, so I couldn't tell you what it's like. I mean, I remember watching them race here on TV years ago, but I never really paid that much attention to it as if it's like an Iowa or a Charlotte. I couldn't even tell you.
it's a pretty decent sized track. I was there once, I think it was 2008 because my ex was pregnant with our son.
Yeah, okay.
So we actually got to go there, and ironically, the driver that he follows now was a driver that won that race. So he's been there when he's won a race. He just didn't see it
Yeah. Oh,
because that was Kyle Busch back in 2008 for that
okay.
race.
Yeah.
And to
Yeah.
be honest, I think it was more entertaining watching everybody leave the track than it was watching the race because we just sat there on the hood of my Jeep and watched everybody leave. So many accidents, people getting pissed at each other, and it's just like this is more entertaining.
That sounds like Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah. That's Chicago for you.
My
Yeah.
wife and I, we were engaged in Chicago. We were just there for business last year, last fall. So we make it to Chicago maybe once every other year, give or take. So I won't make it to this race, the Chicagoland race. I won't. My schedule, I just can't do it because we're going to try to plan on being for the California races, the San Diego and the Sonoma and Pocono is falling all in that time frame. And then, of course, Charlotte and Nashville at the end of May. Got those two races. And then June really gets packed
Yeah.
with races that we'll probably be doing a lot of traveling for. So, and then, of course, Talladega 2 weeks from now. So I've got Bristol coming up this weekend and Talladega. Then I might skip a few races. And then Charlotte on the 23rd, I think we race in May. And then, of course, Nashville the week after. Those are definite go tos.
So, what does your wife think of all this with going to the races?
She doesn't go, she doesn't go to all the races. In fact, she hasn't been to a race yet this year. But she will just scheduling, and if it's guys like I was in Las Vegas, I tried to get her to go out there, but her schedule really wouldn't match up to that time frame. And like I said, both of our kids are in college, so our son's about to graduate, and we spend time up here in Tallahassee. So it just it's hard for the two of us to go to races. She likes being there, but to watch it on TV, she's not really a big fan of it.
Mm,
But she'll watch it if I'm gone. She'll watch it when I'm at the race, obviously when we're racing. But she wouldn't go out of her way to watch it if it wasn't for what I'm doing now. If it was
gotcha.
4 or 5 years ago, she wouldn't be into it. But she's into it for me when I'm there or if we're racing. But trucks she wouldn't watch, cups she wouldn't watch. But on her own, let's put it that way.
It's
But
kind of
we
like,
have a good time. She has a good time at the track. She does like to be there, and either if we can put her in the pit box there, so she can watch it from up there and listen on the scanner, and so she knows what's going on during the races now, so she can at least follow it, easier than she could have in the past.
yeah, it's kind of like my wife. We went to one ARCA race, and that was a couple years ago up in Milwaukee Mile, and we were there with Tim and Rise Motorsports and stuff like that, and she got to sit up on the pit box, and she had the headphones on so she could hear everything. And she made one mistake because I told her, don't talk into the mic, or yeah. And her and I had to ask her something, and she went to pull the mic off, but she pressed the button. So all of a
Oh
sudden,
no.
yeah, they're yelling at her, get your hand off the thing because it's interrupting everything. And my
Oh
wife's like,
yeah.
oh crap. So they heard about a minute conversation between me and my wife about something. I can't remember if it was going to get something to eat or going to the bathroom or something like that. So yeah, they were like, get off the thing. Hold on. So it was funny.
Well, I never thought of that. And then Carl Long was telling me during one of the truck races we were doing that the guest radios. I guess they took the mic. They have the radios that don't have the mic, the key on it. And he said that he was doing a race one time, and one of the guests was sitting or leaning up against, whatever it was. It was pressing the key, the mic, not on the headset, but just on the radio itself. So I never thought that being a thing, but when Carl told me that story, 2 years or so ago, I thought, okay, that's a real thing. So when I have guests when I have guests there, I always tell them, pull if you got to pull it on off the right side because the mic button is on the left. So I have to remind them to pull from the right side if they need to hear me if we're talking or trying to have a conversation.
Yeah, luckily, my wife didn't get into too much trouble. They just kind of said you can't do that, and that was about it. And kind of everybody laughed about it because they were just pretty much making laps at that point, so it wasn't that big a deal. But it was just the look on all their faces when they look over at her and they're like, "No, quit!"
Shut it down, shut it down.
Yeah, pretty
All right,
much.
stop.
Yeah.
Yep. And she's like, she looked and it was that oh crap moment. Like, I am so sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah. I never would have thought that was a thing until Carl told me that 2 years ago. That's legit. You got to be careful of it for sure.
So, do you go like when you were before you bought into the team and that, I mean, who did you typically root for?
Ford. It didn't matter. I'm a Ford. Grew up a Ford guy. My family's lumber company. We always had Ford trucks, and even back in the 20s when they were starting to buy trucks, they would buy the Ford. So I just rooted for anybody in a Ford. I never really followed a driver. I just followed the blue oval. That was who my dad. That's how my dad rooted for people. Uh, and he rooted for underdogs too. He didn't really always root for the Richard Pettys of the world or the Mario Andretti's. It was always somebody else when he would kind of root for somebody. I don't think he really even had someone that he was a diehard. He never went out and bought Dale Earnhardt shirts or Cale Yarborough. He never would have done that. But he just loved just to watch the racing, and that was his thing, and that's where I get some of it from. And but yeah, Ford was definitely the product we were watching, not the drivers per se.
Yeah, if
You know,
you're
if Penske was to have switched from Ford to Chevy 3 years ago, I wouldn't have rooted for Penske anymore. It wasn't against Joey Logano, which I like. I like Joey Logano. I like his personality. I think there's some that don't like him, which you can probably have that say with a lot of different drivers. But it
Mhm.
seems like he gets maybe not as much as Kyle Busch always did, uh, or does. I don't even think Kyle Busch really even gets as much as he used to, at least from what I see. And but yeah, so just rooting for the Ford is what I always did.
Yeah, Joey Logano, my wife loves watching him race and everything because she actually tried to get him on one of the podcasts one time, and they kind of got talking and they found out what my wife's going through. And Joey Logano personally signed a picture for her and sent her a flag and socks and a whole bunch of stuff. And it's just out of the blue. and all
Yeah.
signed to her because my wife's going through well, at the time it was 4th stage, but luckily it's come down to 2nd stage, brain cancer and leukemia.
Oh, wow.
So he sent her all that stuff, and like she flies. We have the flag out on every Sunday,
Oh, good.
and she kind of leans more towards the Penske camp because she really likes Ryan Blaney, even though she makes fun of his mustache now. And my kids make fun of it too because I don't know if you remember the show from the early 2000s. My Name is Earl.
Yes, I do. That's
Oh
right.
no.
Yeah, he had that mustache, kind of mustache going.
So whenever they see Ryan Blaney on there, they joke around and go, "Hey, look, it's My Name is Ryan."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I never thought of that. Yeah, that does look like that character.
So yeah, they kind of she still massively roots for the Ford camp, and I stuck with Brad Kozlowski when he moved over to Roush, and
Hmm.
she roots for Brad too because she knows Brad's kind of at the other end of his career, and
Right.
she likes seeing the RFK guys do pretty good, which they've been struggling, but I think it's a lot of
Yeah.
Ford putting money into places and stuff like that. And I know Roush is trying to push, or RFK is trying to push more for Ford.
Yeah.
So, but and I just had a brain fart. I lost the whole train of thought I was going with.
Yeah. Well, I wish, I wish our team was in a situation where we could get some help from an OEM, and it would be, for me, it would be just fantastic if it was Ford. And like I said, my family's lumber business, which has been around since 1902, these are the first trucks they ever, but when they weren't using donkeys to haul lumber to local job sites or construction sites, let's call it that. When they started having the ability to buy trucks, they were Fords. And my dad's office in downtown Fort Pierce, Florida, has old photographs of the old lumber yards, and you see those old Ford trucks sitting there. And my the Ford family, they've got on Jupiter Island, they have, I think, a couple of different estates there. And there was a time when their house, they had a lady who oversaw some of their estates, and she was a customer of mine and my wife's Ace store, and our Hope Sound store is kind of near Jupiter Island. And she would come in there and buy cleaning supplies. So there was always that Ford connection there. It's like, it was kind of cool that, the Ford family is buying from our little hardware store. And just my aunt and uncle always had Fords. My parents always had Fords. So we have a deep, deep roots with Ford. That's why I always rooted for them.
Yeah, I keep an old Ford truck running. I've got an '05 F-250 with the 6 liter. So that's been a challenge to keep that guy running, but I've always
Yeah.
been a Ford guy. And I know kind of getting in when you were talking about getting into like an OEM manufacturer following you, I know there's been a lot of talks like RFK has been pushing to try to get Ford into the O'Reilly series more.
Oh, really? Okay.
And yeah, and he's been talking to some teams trying to get them into talks with Ford to get Ford in the O'Reilly series again because I think they only have like, 1 or 2 cars
I think it's
running.
just one now.
Yeah, so I know RFK is pushing on that. So who knows? Maybe you guys could be affiliated with them at some point.
Listen, I think it would be great just to have a conversation, just to see, even if they said you're not the right fit, at least it would feel nice to just be, addressed as an opportunity to help us out where we could use some help. And uh, I know we have the team to do it. It's just getting some of the backing that we just lack right now from an OEM to push us into the teens. We've done well. We've had some races. We're finishing in the mid 20s, high 20s. I think we've got a couple teens in there somewhere, some 18s, I think a 19. So we have the ability. It's just we need that weekly ability to make it work.
I know you guys were doing good, and I think it was Daytona. Um, Natalie Decker was doing really good up until that last accident, and she got
Yeah,
knocked
she
out
was
of it.
having a good race. She was having a good race. The car was in good shape. And of course, a track like that is let's just kind of ride around in the back and uh, let some of the usual happenings happen. And, with Talladega and Daytona, it's just really about survival.
Mm-hmm.
and kind of let the other guys chip away at each other. And we were doing well. Natalie was having a good run. She liked the car. The car was set up nicely for her. And then, yeah, just having the 41 come up and take us out like that. It was heart wrenching.
Yep. Yeah, I seen that and it was like, oh man, because like I said, I root for the littler teams and not sound weird. Natalie Decker's really cute, so it kind of helps with that. And even my kids
He
think
said
that.
it helps with that.
But no, she was running really good and I like seeing that. I'd like to see, a woman step up and run NASCAR a lot more because I was not a huge fan of Danica Patrick because she was raised pretty much right around where I'm from, and her personality from
Yeah.
no being around her in like a standpoint that's not on the racetrack, I didn't care for her. So
Hmm.
it's hard to root for that when her, like of her personally and how she is like not in the public eye, and you just didn't really care for that person. Not saying that she might have, changed or whatnot, but I mean, when she was younger, I just didn't really, it was hard to get along with somebody like that.
Right.
So seeing somebody else coming up, I'd really like to see them do good. And, I'm a huge Rajah Caruth fan. I'd love to see him come up and do something. And even, like I said, Natalie Decker, seeing her make it, it'd be really cool to see, especially a female in the sport, do something and do it really good. And I think she's got the talent and I think she can do it because she shows it on the tracks. I'm just hoping that, she gets a good finish and doesn't get written off.
Yeah, I got to spend some time with her in Daytona because she obviously she drove with us, and I did a radio interview with her on Friday, I think it was, and I had a chance to have dinner with her family and her sponsors, the T and Dickinsons, which Hazel sponsor, which I think they had about 18 to 20 people that came down for the race, and my job with the team was to kind of help, when she was out there on the track and her people, her T and Dickinson's, which Hazel, they were all there, and they had. I was just kind of rotating them, getting them up close to the pit stops, and then rotating them up into the pit box, so they all kind of got a view from up there and could see the
Cool.
crew chiefs working, doing their thing. And it was a great event. Natalie is fantastic around people, and like I said, I never really got a chance to spend any time with her. Pretty much spent the day with her that day, and we've been in conversations with some future races that I think she's got some stuff lined up with us uh, for some other races.
Cool.
And I'd have to get with Joey to see. I'm not sure what is finalized or what's still in the talks, and we're trying to put something together with her for Atlanta. With my brother has a Ace Hardware in the Atlanta area, so we're looking at bringing in her sponsor for that potential sponsor for that race. I brought their products into my stores, and my brother's going to do a big thing there. That's the plan anyway. Of course, everything's got all the stars have to align and make sure we get to where she is running with us that weekend. Hopefully, it works out. Great family. Her mom, Amy, her dad, Chuck, great people, easy people to be around, and just it was a great event at Daytona, having her part of the team, and she definitely gets a good following for sure.
Yeah. And like I
Mhm.
said, she's got the talent out there too. So I'm hoping that she can get going on this. And,
Yeah,
I just think that she could definitely like launch women in motorsports a lot farther.
yeah. And I think there's a girl from Rock Hill South. I can't think of her name right now, and I think she may have ran an ARCA race or she's getting ready to, and I can't think of her name right now. But I've kind of been, because of my business in Rock Hill, South Carolina, I've kind of from a distance kind of said, "Oh yeah, there she is doing this, there she is doing that." I think she could be pretty special if she has the funding and backing to keep progressing with what she's been doing. But I think she ran an ARCA race already.
Yeah, because I know
I think she might be 17 or so, somewhere around there.
we actually have an interview scheduled with this is gonna I gotta check because we have an interview scheduled with an ARCA driver, Isabella Robusto.
Yeah, that's it, Isabella Robusto.
Yep.
Yeah,
Next
that's
week
who. Yeah,
I actually have her on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's from Rock Hill, South Carolina for some reason. I don't know why I thought that, but because she was somewhat local to our business here, I kind of, from a distance, was just kind of keeping an eye on see what she was doing and how she was progressing. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure she's a local from that area.
Yeah, and I mean, what she's going to college for is amazing because it's aerospace.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, it's insane. It's and I was surprised because I hit her up out of the blue. It's like, hey, would you be interested in doing an interview? And she's like, yeah. It's like, oh, cool.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not used to that because I'm more of like we're such a little network and everything. I mean, we're growing. We just added Pete's show to our network and stuff like that, and
Okay.
trying to get moving. And all this is still coming out of like my pocket and that stuff. So it's just cool when we
Yeah.
have somebody coming on, especially like where you're at. I just when you said you agreed to do a podcast, I was kind of stunned because I'm like, oh wow, it's like slowly moving up.
Well, I still feel like I'm an outsider to the sport because guys that I know have been in it so long, I feel like, the new guy, but we're a smaller team and I'm a small part of that smaller team. So my friends will tell me otherwise, but I guess just still not sinking in that I'm a co-owner of a two-car NASCAR team, the minority owner, with Joey, who's, Joey had his 400th overall start, I think, I forget, it may have been, I forget which race it was. Like, it may have been St. Louis, I think, last year in the fall.
Oh wow.
So Joey obviously has a deep connection. I think 40 or 45 or 50 cup starts, I think, and then the rest are the Xfinity and then a few truck starts. Earlier on, I think he had a couple, maybe two, three truck runs, if I remember correctly. But obviously, mostly were O'Reilly and Xfinity. But no, he has a deep history, and his dad, has a racing history out of Iowa, and it's been a great partnership. I stay out of his way, and uh, I join in. I help out where I can, and let him run the team, and because he knows what he's doing with that. I don't. I can run hardware stores and lumber yards, but running a race team is just not something I'm set up to do. So I still feel like I said, I still feel like I'm an outsider in this small little world. But others will tell me otherwise, and I kind of just go by that. So, but I appreciate the comment, about me joining your show. But it's something I've never done before. It's actually my first. So I appreciate you reaching out to me.
Hey, no problem. And I mean, too, also, if you're ever up in the Wisconsin area, I'd love to, meet you and shake your hand and stuff like that. Um, and there was something else I was gonna ask. And now, sorry, it's been one of those weeks with everything going on. It's kind of trying to keep everything straight.
Well, my wife and I, we were in Wisconsin. We went to the Iowa race last year. What was that, June? I think it was June.
Mhm.
And we had never been to Iowa. We had never been to Wisconsin. My wife had always wanted to go up to what's the place up there in the UP in Michigan,
Dork.
the island, Mackinac Island.
Yep,
So
that is really
we
cool up
just
there.
yeah, we flew out to Iowa because Joey ran both of those races, the Cup race and the O'Reilly or Xfinity back then. So he had both those races, and we just decided, well, we're going to go to we went to Madison, Wisconsin for 2 nights just to check it out, and drove up around the UP and went to Mackinac Island, looped around Western Michigan and into Chicago for an Ace Hardware show. So the timing, it was about a 10-day deal. It was fantastic. We had never really done a trip like that. We saw a lot of things that we'd never seen before. So I've been to Wisconsin one time in my life. So
Well, if you guys are ever back up here, if you and your wife like antiquing, lavender farms and a lot of wine drinking and stuff, definitely hit Door County and Washington Island. It
okay.
is absolutely amazing.
I've heard of Dora County. Yeah, definitely
Yep.
heard. And the people that come down for the season in Florida, whether they're from Michigan or Wisconsin or New York or New Jersey, you hear from those people from those areas, and so Dora County, I definitely heard of even way before you just mentioned it.
But yeah, I highly recommend it because my wife loves going there. I'm allergic to lavenders, so
Hmm.
I pretty much die.
No, geez.
I don't know if you heard my wife.
I heard something.
Yeah, she goes, "You're allergic to everything outside. Plants want to kill me.
Mm. Yeah.
Anything green and it grows, it wants to kill me." Like, I'm a firm believer in the Brady Bunch's yard with the AstroTurf.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it must be rough this time of year with the spring kicking in or getting ready to kick in. So,
Oh yeah, my
yeah,
yeah, I have a hard time
pollen.
breathing. My eyes are always watering. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, pollen here in Tallahassee is kind of kicking in. I think they had a big dumping of it not too long ago, but you see the freshly washed cars, especially the darker painted ones. You see the thin yellow
Yup.
coating on them. So yeah, it's definitely in the air.
And also too, I don't know if your dad ever wants to get on, I'd love to listen if he's got any stories about like the old days, especially the Daytona Beach course. And
Oh
I'd
yeah.
love to just sit back and listen and let him he could come on and have a whole show to himself.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'll let him know that. Yeah, he would definitely have some great. He's told me and my brother some great stories of just being in the infield of Daytona when it was nothing but crushed rock. You know,
Oh wow.
there were no public bathrooms and people sleeping in tents. You know, for the Firecracker 400. You know, summertime in Daytona, no shade, just tents. People sleeping in the back of their cars, and I can't imagine that world with the conveniences we have now of motor coaches having showers and bathrooms and that sort of stuff in it. But he was there early on when it was all fresh and new.
So were you guys there for Petty's last win?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Were you guys there for Richard Petty's last win then?
No, no, I'm not sure if my dad was. I know I wasn't.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley, and my husband and myself own the network Shannon Family Products, and we are proud to introduce our new nonprofit group to help fight brain cancer, also known as glioblastoma. With your help, we can make a difference and hopefully one day find a cure. This type of cancer affects many people all over the world and is very rare for adults to get, as it is a childhood cancer. And this is the cancer that I am battling. With our help and the GRO, we can win this. So I ask all of you and myself to please join together and let's help the thousands of people, along with myself, to win this fight. I would like to say thank you to all of you for your support, and please go on our link to get more information on where you can donate or what you can do to help. We can make a huge difference because no one should have to fight this battle alone.
Sorry, this is also our bedroom. I got to let my wife in real quick. Hold on
Sure,
one
go ahead.
second.
Yeah.
Scott, I did want to say though, for a person that owns a NASCAR team, you're really, really a personal person, man. It's awesome. You know, you come in and talk, you make everybody feel welcome. I feel like if somebody were to walk up to you in public, you'd just be like, "Oh yeah, hey, what's up?" You know, and things like that. So it's really cool, man. Because like I don't know a lot about this stuff, but I'm so fascinated listening to you guys talk. I'm just like, oh, this is so really cool. Because my uncle was big into NASCAR and everything like that. He'd collect all the different things and stuff like that. But he was a big collector in generally. Like he collected like a lot of sports schedules and things like that. He was a big, Chicago Cardinals fan before they moved to Arizona. And things like that too. But NASCAR always had a special place in his heart, man, because he'd always be watching the races every week and things like that too. And I know my aunt and my uncle they're out in the North Carolina area, closer to Charlotte, so they get the advantage out there. So they always have like watch parties in the garage and things. So it was never something I got into, but I've always respected the sport because those guys go out there in those cars dealing with all that G-force and everything else, man. It's quite impressive to watch a lot of them, and then I think it's interesting to see, girls getting into it now too, because it's kind of cool to see, because now it's that whole mentality, if you can do it, I can do it, kind of thing like that. So as well.
Yeah, well, that's I've never met a stranger. I've always gone, when I go to the races, they have all the charter flights that the teams take, usually fly out of Concord there or Statesville.
Yeah.
I fly out of either West Palm Beach, or if I'm in Tallahassee, I'm flying out of Tallahassee tomorrow to
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte. So I'll just sit at the bar and just start talking to people, it just see where
Yeah,
they're from. I'm
you give
always
off that
curious.
vibe, like you're that person
Yeah.
that's just very friendly with everybody, and they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I own a team," and the people are like, Wait,
Wait,
you on
what?
a team? You're like, because you never see it coming. Because a lot of people that are in high, like those higher level things, are not so like personal. But I get it at the same time. Like people hear that and they're like, oh yeah, why don't you buy me a drink? Or all these other weird things they'll start asking you. But that's so cool, man. I think that's really great that you're really personal with people. You don't mind striking up conversations with people. I'm sure a lot of people when they find out, they just look at you, their jaw hits the floor. Really? And you're like, yeah, yeah. I'm part of a team, though. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, well, before I would tell my buddies that have been in NASCAR forever, for 20, 30 years, I wanted to do this. They're like, you might, just think about it. It's not all glamorous and sexy as you think it is from the outside.
Yeah.
But they have war stories, but they also have the best stories.
Mm-hmm.
They have the best stories. You sit around the fire pit with them, having a bourbon or smoking a cigar. And I don't have great stories from the hardware business. No one wants to hear about me mixing paint for the Widow Goldberg. No one wants to hang out with that guy. But the guys that have worked on pit crews and won championships with Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart and Jimmy Johnson and those guys who are buddies of mine, and they're still involved with Gibbs and Hendrick and RCR, those guys. And now I feel like, so when I do meet somebody, but my wife and I, we still have our hardware store business. But when you mention NASCAR, it definitely, it piques more interest and questions because it's not something you run into on a daily basis. And
You really don't.
I can appreciate that. But at Ace Hardware, people say, "Oh yeah, I used to go to the Ace in whatever city with my grandfather when I was a kid, and we'd go and we'd get popcorn and they're telling their stories about being young and going to a hardware store." So there is that aspect of it as well. But then you throw in, and I don't always start with the NASCAR. Someone's we're in the hardware business and have some other business interests, and if they continue on, then I bring in the NASCAR side of it.
Yeah, no, I get that. That makes sense, though. I mean, but yeah,
Mhm.
Ace Hardware did have a big place in my heart too, man. Because Tool Time, and remember the Tim Allen show. What am I thinking of? Home Improvement was
Yep.
always a big thing for me as a kid, man. Because we always watched it and things like that. I love Tim Allen. They always hang out on the hardware store kind of thing. So it's really cool because Ace Hardware used to be the one place we always go all the time to get stuff because it was right there. It's easy access. Now it's like it's just completely disappeared. Like you don't see a lot of them where I'm at. And where I'm at in Texas, though, we see a lot. I met a lot of different ball players, like Hank Blaylock. When he was coming up for the Rangers, I got to meet him a few times. Vinnie Paul from Pantera, I've got to meet. I meet a lot of these other people just randomly for different jobs I was doing. And it was great because you get to run into these guys. But you never really hear much, like you were saying. Like you don't hear a lot of NASCAR guys come through. We've had comic book artists I've met. All these other different kinds of people. And then on my show, I do on my podcast, I meet a lot of interesting people too. Like I've got like 1.5 million downloads on some of these shows. And it's like, they're really cool people. At the end of the day, they're just really interesting people because it's like, okay, so you wonder what someone who's that successful, what they're like. But it's like, like I said, you make it very easy and very approachable. So if someone comes up to you and recognizes you, that has to be a good feeling. They're like, hey, listen, I know you run this team. And you're like, hey, yeah, it's got to be a great feeling,
Well, I don't get recognized. I can tell you that. But but I know enough people around the track, around the pit, just from my buddies that were pit crew guys, and got to meet them, and so I can walk down pit road or through the garage, and but it's people that I met through other people in the sport.
Yeah.
It's not I don't get stopped in an airport. Hey, aren't you with that race team? I see Richard.
If
I saw
one
Richard,
day it'll happen, Scott. Watch. One day it's gonna happen. Like
Yep.
Pete was right. Maybe this person will come say hi to me.
Well, my wife, when we travel, we were in Vegas for an Asia. This was years ago, and I see the drummer for Foo Fighters, Taylor Hawkins.
There you go.
When obviously when he was still around, and but I don't want to bother him. But I'm walking and I just kind of hit him on the shoulder. And I played drums, so I knew who he was. I'm like, hey Taylor, hey Taylor, big fan of yours. That was it. I kept walking. He looked at me and said, "Oh, thank you," because he was with a couple of people there. And my wife was like, "Who was that?" I said, "Well, that's Taylor Hawkins. That's the drummer for Foo Fighters." She goes, "How did you know that?" It's like, "Well, just because I follow drummers." So, but I always see somebody that's a celebrity or something, I'll point out to my wife, that's so and so over there. Like, well, how do you know that? So I just have this weird knack of seeing people in the airport that, or they look familiar. I might even think it's a
Yeah.
friend of mine from 30 years ago. My wife's like, you always say that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. When Hank Blaylock came into the bar where I was working at, nobody recognized him except for me because I'm a huge baseball fan. I'm from the Chicagoland area, so like I'm a monster White Sox fan. So like baseball's always been rich for me. I love baseball, and I noticed him. I was like, oh no. I'm like, is that who I think that is? So I kind of slipped over and said something to him, like, hey, listen, are you Hank Blaylock? I'm like, I'm not gonna shout it across the room. He goes, yeah. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever because you've seen him on TV. And where we were at, the Rangers Stadium is like maybe 5-10 minutes away because we were on that little strip right over there where the Six Flags and everything is here in the Arlington area. So they have that there, and then now they have the Dallas Cowboys Stadium over there too. And I don't know when they put that in. So it's really cool when you see some of these guys like Vinnie Paul. You knew it was him, but you knew not to approach him. Like if he's with his lady, you obviously just stand by and just come by and you don't even say anything to him. You know who he is, but you don't go over and bother him. But if he was with the fellas, it's a little different. He's a little more inviting, but so you had to read the room a lot of times when it came to a lot of these people. The coolest person that I've met was the Ultimate Warrior because I was a big 80s and 90s wrestling fan. That had to be the coolest person ever to meet. Like he's monstrous in life too, man. He's big. Like you don't realize how big is the TV does not do that man justice, well. But it was so cool because he was so nice because it's all about how you approach a lot of these guys. You just can't run up to start screaming and yelling. It's like, well, they're dicks. Well, it's because it's the way you're approaching people. Now, if you're coming up very personable, hey, listen, I know who and you're just like you said, you tapped on the shoulder, say, hey, listen, I appreciate I love what your stuff. Cool. That's it. That's all you have to say. A lot of times, that's all you need to do, and a lot of them are really cool, but. It's all about how you approach people, though.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's like with the Taylor Hawkins thing. I wasn't going to bother him, and it's kind of like a little tap on the shoulder. Hey, Taylor, a big fan of yours. Just kind of keep walking,
Yep.
And sometimes I'm fortunate. I have friends that played Major League Baseball, and I've got a few friends that are big time celebrities. So I know kind of what they go through. The way I noticed, and so. Just hanging out with them every now and then, I kind of know how to treat someone else that they've told me what's irritating and what they do appreciate.
So both sides of it, basically.
Yep.
That
for
is
sure.
Very cool.
Yep.
Well, I know we've taken up quite a bit of your time, sir. Is there anything that you want to put out there? Like, you can do the Ace Hardware stores or anything like that you want people to, if listening to that are in that area that want to go see it. This is your time to pimp whatever you want to pimp, I guess.
I appreciate it. No, just Rock Hill Ace Hardware in Rock Hill, South Carolina, or Hope Sound store in Hope Sound, Florida, and then Tallahassee here, Appalachia Ace Hardware. It's nice that what I'd like people to know is people when we talk about sponsorship, everyone thinks, oh, it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars to sponsor a race team, which is true, to an extent, depending on what you want to get out of it. But we have great entry level price options. Like I said, with Jordan Anderson, it was $500 and 2 VIPs, and to me that was great. It's like the VIPs alone are $200 a piece, so just the VIPs alone were worth it. And then Jordan, I'll say this about Jordan. This is what really wanted me to be a part of, and kind of how I approach the NASCAR stuff is even after Jordan, I did that sponsorship thing with him. He treated me like I was $1 million sponsor, even up through today. I saw him at a Waffle House in Atlanta before the Atlanta race, and he came over to my table and just shaking. He was on the phone when we got the phone. He came over and just, hey Jordan, how you doing? I just see him at the track, and that's how I want to let people know that might be thinking of getting in on a just for fun. If it's a business thing or a family event, there's so many different options of getting into the sport and really getting up close and hanging out in the hauler, meet the drivers, sitting up in the pit box. So there's a lot of cool options and entry level ways to be a part of the sport without spending 5 figures, 7 figures, 6 figures, which we'll take. Don't get me wrong. But we're suited more. It's easier to sell a $2,500 sponsor than a $25,000 sponsor. Let's put it that way. but you still get almost the same. You can, the value is the value of the entertainment value is about the same. Now the exposure value is different,
Yeah.
depending on how you want to go. But yeah, so we're always willing to talk to anybody.
Yeah, I'd love to get, one of our stickers on one of those cars one time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I know for like Pete's show and that'd be pretty good. I mean, if you're running like Daytona or something like that, maybe having a
True.
anxiety show sticker on there would work good for those drivers because
Right,
they're probably going
exactly.
through a lot of anxiety.
I could only imagine.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hear more about what the Pete versus anxiety is.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for
Yeah, I
sure. For
mean,
both of you, I'll definitely follow. And I appreciate you reaching out to me and giving me the time. It's been eye opening for me. I really appreciate it, and wish you guys the best. And hope to meet you soon in person and stay in touch.
Hey, you're always
Definitely.
welcome back on Blown Pistons or any other show. And we do have a business podcast. So if you ever want to be on that, we'd love to have you on that too. Or, I
Oh, I'd
mean,
love that. That'd be great. Yeah.
even like if you want to probably sit down and just chill with Pete, that's fine too.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Everybody likes talking to Pete. Come on now, stop.
There you go.
Well,
That's
you're easy
awesome.
to talk to.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah. Like I said, I've never been a stranger, so I'm good to go for anything.
Right.
yeah, you're definitely welcome back anytime you want to come back in. If you guys got some big news or something like that coming up, or
Oh yeah.
you got a special event at a racetrack or a special event at one of your hardware stores, and you just want to kind of get the word out, I'd love to have you back on.
Well, I know Joey released something. I guess he's on some podcast tonight. I've got to look more into. I'm not sure which one it is, but I guess he's going to be on a show at 8 o'clock tonight. I got to figure out what that is, but I really appreciate you reaching out and giving me this time.
Hey, no problem. And if Joey ever is interested on being on, let him know. I'd love to have him on too, and maybe have both you guys on at the same time or something. It's totally up to you guys.
All right, sounds good.
But I want to thank you for being on, and like I said, I really appreciate the time that you took out of your day for doing, our little show. So I very much appreciate it because I can guarantee you're probably helping us out more than we are you.
Okay, well, it's my pleasure. Really, it really is.